we are live. This squared away, and we will. Welcome to Love and Money Secrets TV. I'm Dame Lillian Walker, your host, and today we are on Chapter 9 of Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, written by the incredible Dr. Joe Dispenza. So let's get started. I do encourage you to pull out your books or your Kindles or iPads and follow along. If you would like, an option that is available to you, if you go to the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you will see a little gear, and next to the gear, you'll see the letters CC. If you click on CC, then the text will show up of everything that I'm reading and that I'm saying, so that you can read as well as listen to this video, for those of you who might be interested in that. Okay, so let's go to Chapter 9, and the meditative process, introduction and preparation. So as I started earlier, the main purpose of meditating is to remove your attention from the environment, your body, and the passage of time, so that what you intend, what you think, becomes your focus instead of these externals. You can then change your internal state independent of the outside world. Meditating is also a means for you to move beyond your analytical mind, so that you can access your subconscious mind. Now that's crucial, since the subconscious is where all your bad habits and behaviors that you want to change reside. Pause button here. It's where all your bad habits and good habits. It doesn't discriminate whether the habits are good or bad. It records everything, okay? Going on. I meant to say moving on. Introduction. All the information you have received up to this point has been intended to help you understand what you'll be doing in this section as you learn how to use meditative process to create a new reality. And once you comprehend and repeatedly execute the how-to steps presented here, you can then work on anything that you want to change in your life. Now, remind yourself often that in taking the steps to change, you are pruning away the habit of being yourself, so that you can create a new mind for your new future. I'm going to hit the little pause button right here. Pruning, as you know, means cutting back, taking away from the you that you have been, so that you can now replace it with the you that you intentionally want to be. So when I do the process you are about to learn, I want to lose myself in consciousness, disassociate from my known reality. I hope this broadcast did not get interrupted by that process in my computer, but it's possible. Okay, I apologize for that interruption. My computer took over and interrupted me where I could not see that the broadcast was going forth. So let me continue to move forward here. Okay, and once you comprehend and repeatedly execute the how-to steps presented here, you can then work on anything that you want to change in your life. Now, remind yourself often that in taking steps to change, you are pruning away the habit of being yourself, so that you can create a new mind for your new future. So when I do the process you are about to learn, I want to lose myself in consciousness, disassociate from my known reality, and be devoid of the thoughts and feelings that define me as the old self. In the beginning, the newness of the task you are undertaking might cause you to feel unsettled or uncomfortable. That's okay. It's just your body, which has become your mind, resisting the new training process. And I hit the little pause button here, because he says here, that's okay. It's your body, which has become your mind. Your body, as you will learn as you continue to study with Dr. Joe, your body has always become your mind. It files away all the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that you experience in every way, shape, or form indiscriminately. So as you start to recognize that you are not those emotions, and that those don't have to control you, but you can actually control it, That's how you create a new body to a new mind. Because now, with intention, in your conscious state, you're taking your focus and changing it to the outcome that you want rather than the default setting that you've had set your entire life. And that's how you're able to change your body to a new mind. That's how you're able to heal yourself from disease. That is how you are able to change an unwanted outcome to a new outcome. Okay? I just wanted to clarify that for you so that you have that clarity of mind and that understanding. So, understanding this before you initiate your discipline and relax, each step is designed to be easy to understand and simple to follow. So, personally, I look forward to my meditation practice as much as anything I do. I find such order, peace, clarity, and inspiration that I rarely miss a day. It took some time for me to arrive at this relationship, so please be patient with yourself, turning small steps into one easy habit. So, whenever you've learned anything new that required your full attention and committed practice, you probably followed specific steps during your initial instruction. This makes it easier to break down the complexities of the skill or task at hand so that the mind can stay focused without being overwhelmed. In any endeavor, of course, your goal is to memorize what you've learned so that eventually you can do it naturally, effortlessly, and subconsciously. Essentially, you want to make this new skill a habit, and it's easier to comprehend and execute any new skill when by repetition. You master one small task or procedure at a time and then move it on to the next. Over time, you string each step together as part of one coordinated process. And the sign that you're on your way is when all steps start to look like one easy, fluid motion and you produce the intended result. So that's your aim in learning this meditation as a step by step process. So, for example, in learning to hit a golf ball, there are a host of cues that your mind has to process in order to have your actions match your intention. So imagine that while you're preparing to tee off for the first time, your best friend shouts, "Keep your head down, bend your knees, shoulders square, back erect. Keep your front arms straight, but loosen your grip. Shift your weight when you swing. Hit behind the ball and follow through." And my favorite, relax. I'm going to hit the pause button here because this is so true for any of you who have played golf. And I am a duffer golfer, but a golfer no less. And I remember when I first started playing golf, I took it for granted that you would grab, the grip of your club. You would just grab your grip. And much to my surprise, there is a proper way of holding the golf club and an improper way of holding the golf club. And the grip with which you hold the club, something so simple, so elemental, but it can make all the difference in the world of how you're able to control your club. And so that is like the starting place is holding your club appropriately. After you've been golfing for a while, you don't even think about it. You know what the feel is, and your hands automatically go there. And then from there, of course, you graduate to having the proper stance. And as he said before, squaring away your shoulders, relaxing. And then as you hit the ball, you would think that you just hit the ball. Well, yes and no. You hit the ball, but as you hit the ball, you can't just hit the ball and stop when the face of your club touches the ball. No, you have to follow through. The energy has to be following all the way through so that as you hit the ball, you continue even after the ball makes contact with the face of your club. You continue to follow through. Now, I'm not even a good golfer, but I know some of the basics. I came from a pretty big golfing family, having my husband who was a scratch golfer. My kids and I, we all took golf lessons and played tons of golf. And so these things that at the beginning, in the first few lessons, you're having to think about, your hips being squared, the position in which your hips are, pointing your toes in a certain direction, facing the greens in a certain way, holding, your club in a certain manner, tilting the club, following through. There's all these things that you have to think of, but after you master those basics, then those things you no longer have to think about. Now you focus on hitting the ball not only farther, but hitting the ball straighter, and so on and so forth. For those of you who don't golf, it's like driving a car. Some of you know what it's like to drive a stick shift car. Some of you know the difference. You know, you had to learn how to drive a stick shift, and when you transition from a stick shift to an automatic, you know, there's a difference because there's less things to manage with an automatic. For those of you who never were exposed to learning how to drive a stick shift, nonetheless, when you first start to drive, it's kind of overwhelming. You know, you get behind the wheel and you have to figure out, okay, you know, where all the gears are and what they all mean. And you're managing not just your acceleration and you're braking with the same foot, but you're managing what's ahead of you. You're looking at your mirrors. You're managing the traffic to the sides of you, in front of you. You're anticipating perhaps stops from the traffic that's ahead of you. There are a lot of variables, so much so that a beginning driver oftentimes is best served with not having any music, because even that is a distraction. And so just having it be quiet and silence, not having any passengers chitter chattering, because that is distracting too. When you're trying to concentrate, it's a new skill, just like anything else. The same thing is true with meditation. When you start, in particular, these meditations, which are guided meditations, everything is done with an intention to lead you to a predictable outcome. And that predictable outcome is whatever it is that you want. So whether you're healing yourself, whether you're replacing a bad habit with a new habit, whether you are trying to manifest, I mean, there's no limits to what it is that you can manifest with this. You can quantum jump yourself quite literally. Dr. Joe doesn't use the terminology quantum jump, but in essence, that's what you're doing in the face of something that's unwanted, that you don't like, that you don't want, a mindset, a mood, a temperament, a reaction, an unwanted event that's in front of you, like the pandemic that we've got going on. Whatever the case might be, you can change that in the 5D realm as you put your hands on the steering wheel. And the way you put your hands on the steering wheel of your life is getting to know yourself, quieting yourself down, and then with your focused attention, you take that consciousness, focus it like a laser beam, and you're doing this process of this breath, which is optimizing your operating system. It's alkalizing your body, and it's starting to electrochemically charge not only your cerebral spinal fluid, but it's also creating an inductance field. They call it induction in physics, and it's part of the electromagnetic field, your toroidal field, your torus, TORUS field. It's fanning out the electromagnetic waves that your heart and your brain emit. You have a toroidal field that goes from your brain to your heart, and another one that goes from your heart to the earth. And then you have one that encompasses both, that covers the entire beingness that you are. And then that can be fanned out through the meditative process. You fan out your electromagnetic field as you put all these steps together. And at the beginning, it takes focused concentration to take your breath and breathe in a certain manner while you're taking your focused attention and bringing it from the base of your spine all the way up to your head, and then releasing it, and then back down, and then focusing on the thought that you want. And I am going to go ahead and disclose some things that I do as well, that I know that others do as they're doing these meditations. One thing that will automatically increase the speed and the efficiency with which you get yourself into that deep, quiet, black void space and into that meditative space where you're actually in theta sooner rather than later is this is a neurophysiological effect that's true with all human beings. The moment you close your eyes and you have your eyeballs go up into your head, and you're not looking at anything in particular, you're just rolling your eyeballs up into your head. After you start doing this for a while, it'll become something automatically that you won't even think about. Every time you meditate, they'll automatically go up because you've already conditioned yourself to do that. But at the beginning, if you haven't conditioned yourself to do that, that's one more step that you'll have to condition your body to and your mind, because your body, your eyes, your physiology is your body, and your mind is thinking and hearing as you're taking in the guided meditation. There's a few things that right now I'm not going to disclose that also I do in meditation, but because I study also under, as well as Dr. Joe, also under Dr. David, and one of the things that he talks about is, when you put your eyeballs up into your brain and you're looking, this is part of a neurosomatic process, you are actually also putting yourself not only in a trance state, but it's a way, these are all labels, but it's also a way of self-hypnotizing yourself. Some people are a little reticent about the whole hypnosis thing. This is all in your control. These are things that you are doing for yourself. You are gifting it to you. So whether you call it hypnosis, there really is a very, very thin veil between hypnosis and meditation. There's elements where there's a lot of crossover. If you study both, you will see that, there comes a point where there is a blurry line. I don't want you to get stuck, caught up, hung up, on any of those things. Just know that this process of meditation that Dr. Joe is teaching you has been tried and proven, and the things that have worked for him and thousands, we're talking 20, 30, more than 20, 30,000 people. It's been, who knows what the number is. It's probably hundreds of thousands of people by now. These things work. If you have any question mark whatsoever in your mind, all you have to do, you don't need to believe me. Don't believe anybody. Do your own research. Right here on YouTube, in the search bar, go ahead, Dr. Joe testimonials, and you'll see thousands of testimonials of people who talked about their before and afters, whatever condition it was that they had that brought them to Dr. Joe's work, and the results after. And you can satisfy yourself that way. So moving on here, he says, keep your head down, bend your knees, shoulders square, back erect, keep your front arm straight, but loosen your grip, shift your weight when you swing, hit the ball and hit behind the ball and follow through. And my favorite, relax. All these instructions at once could throw you into a state of paralysis. What if instead you worked on one thing at a time, following a methodical order? In time, it seems logical that your swing would look like one fluid motion. So similarly, if you were learning to cook a French recipe, you would start by following its individual steps. Do that enough times, and there would come a moment when you no longer would prepare the recipe as separate steps, but as one continuous process. You would integrate the instructions into your body, mind, and merge many steps into just a few. And eventually you would cook the meal in half the time. You'd go from thinking to doing. Your body memorizes what you are doing as well as your mind. So that's what a procedural memory is. This phenomenon occurs when you do anything long enough. You begin to know what you know how. And that's because you're not memorizing it from a brain standpoint as we memorize things for tests and so forth in school, but your body becomes conditioned to certain motions. You have a muscle memory, and then you also have the different sensory systems of the body that are being conditioned. And so that's why you may have a lapse in memory where you don't remember maybe a combination to a lock, but you'll remember your body will remember the pattern. You're like, okay, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I remember this pattern on a combination lock. Or you may remember, maybe it's a phone number that you don't remember that phone number to dial it from memory, but you'll remember the pattern that you used to do on a keypad. So this is no different. And that's why I encourage you guys, my friends and my gems, I want my friends and gems to embody this information, to make it your own, to just expose yourself enough to it on a daily basis that you don't have to memorize it. as you begin to do these meditations every day, breaking the habit of being yourself, the water rising meditation, for example, or the body parts meditation, you begin to do it every morning, you do it every evening. Bear in mind that these meditations will give you energy. So don't look at it as it taking away from your sleep, because it will, in some instances, it may even put you to sleep, especially if you do it before you go to bed, which is why I don't recommend you do it laying down. I'm going to recommend that you do it sitting up. You can sit up in your bed or sit up in a chair and do it there. And your body becomes so relaxed during the meditative process that the meditation has restorative processes. Make no mistakes. You get growth and repair. You get restoration, revitalization. So when you are in theta, your body is actually asleep, even though your mind is awake. Keep that in mind. So I hear so many people say, well, I'm only getting, 5-6 hours of sleep. If I were to do this before I would go to bed, I can't get by on 4.5 hours of sleep. I understand that. Trust me, I know. Most of my life, I have slept 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and yet I've meditated for a very long time. And I can probably attribute the fact that I wasn't tired all the time to the fact that I was meditating, because I never counted the time that I meditated in my sleep. And it was just in the last couple of years, as I dove deeper into this, that I started realizing, I'm like, oh, so especially in those days where you have more things that are packed and you are scheduling so many things, it's like, wow, the reason why I'm not getting tired or fatigued, it's because I'm doing this work and I am receiving growth and repair and restoration, revitalization, and healing during that meditative process. So really, I can't afford to go without it. Now, there have been days that I have missed, very rare, but there have been days that I have missed. And some days I do more, sometimes I do less. There are some days that I do, time permitting, I do a lot more, many different types of meditation, not just not just a Dr. Joe meditation, but I also endeavor other types of meditation, like the Go Love meditation, which is just a 15-minute meditation. You can do that 2-3 times a day because they're only 15 minutes long. And as you focus on someone as the object of your affection that you're giving the love to so that they heal, a known or an unknown person, you are also restoring, growing, and repairing and revitalizing yourself in that 15-minute time. I would encourage you to check out the testimonials about people who've done that Go Love meditation. I've heard of relationships, mothers with daughters, and all sorts of interesting, benefits that have come from that, because Dr. Joe's intention was to do that, to spread the love virus so that we can heal the planet from everything that's going on right now. And of course, it's not limited to just disease and syndromes and bacteria, viruses, germs, etc. It takes care of everything, whatever's needed, which is part of the beauty of this. Can you tell I'm excited? I'm always excited about this. This is probably my favorite time of day is when I come together with you all to share this information and read this material and share my experiences, because it really is a supernatural, extraordinary, life-changing thing. Okay, building a neural network for meditation. For those of you who are following in your books and are curious about our page number, my Kindle keeps on jumping. The page number is 221, 221, a special number. Remember that the more knowledge you have, the better prepared you are for a new experience. Every meditation step you practice will have a meaning to you based on what you learned earlier in this book. So each one is based on a scientific or philosophical understanding, so that nothing is left to conjecture. The steps are presented in a specific order designed to help you memorize this process for personal change. So although I have mapped out a suggested 4-week program for you to learn the entire process, please take as much time as you need to practice each step until it becomes familiar. The best pace to set is one that is comfortable, so you never feel overwhelmed. You will begin every session by doing the previous steps you learned, then practice the new material for that week because it's more effective to learn some steps together. Some weeks will call for you to practice 2 or more new steps. Also, I recommend that you practice each new mindful step or group of steps for at least a week before you move on to the next ones. Now, in a few weeks, you'll build quite a neural network for meditation. Suggested 4-week program. Week 1, Chapter 10. Week 2, Chapter 11. Week 3, Chapter 12. Week 4, Chapter 13. Okay, he just has that listed here that way in that 4-week program. So basically a chapter a week, chapters 10 through 12, actually through 13, 10 through 13. And it says here, please take your time and build a strong foundation. If you are already an experienced meditator and want to do more at once, that's fine. I'm going to hit the pause button here. Whatever you do, friends and gems, pay attention to your intuition, your gut instinct. If as you're doing them, if you feel that you can do, if you feel after 3 days, for example, like he says, maybe you're an experienced meditator or maybe not. Maybe your inner being is just prompting to you to go on to, it's like, okay, it's been 3 days. I feel like I need to move on to week 2. There's no rules. Follow your own intuition, trust your inner being, and just go with the flow. Worst case scenario, the next week, you may continue doing that week 2 that you did, in the first week. It doesn't matter. Just pay attention to how you're feeling, your intuitive knowingness. So please take your time. And build a strong foundation. If you are already an experienced meditator and want to do more at once, that's fine. But work at following all the instructions and committing what you will be doing to memory. Now, I'm going to suggest, he does say here, and committing what you will do or what you will be doing to memory. So one of the things that I learned with the amazing Colette Stryker, the founder of the MAP Institute, Manifesting All Possibilities. She's a French physiotherapist, psychotherapist actually, and she talks about commanding your superconsciousness so it commands your subconsciousness. And so what I would suggest that you do here, this is an ad to Dr. Joe's work, because that's what I do. I command my superconsciousness to tell my subconsciousness, we're going to memorize this. And then I don't question it, I let it go. I'm commanding my brain to record in my subconscious mind a memory and recall so I can more easily memorize these things. Now, that being said, I've been healing from a traumatic brain injury for several years now, from the time I got hit by a bus while riding my bike after a 16-mile bike ride. And so it's more challenging which it's all irrelevant because everybody is healing from something. So whether you have a situation like that, which Dr. Joe also had the same thing, I have neck and back and yada, yada, yada. Everybody has something. Maybe you have emotional trauma. That emotional trauma could be as debilitating, sometimes even worse than physical things. Everybody has some sort of trauma in their life, whether it's emotional, spiritual, psychological, relational, financial. It affects your body and your brain. And your consciousness is how you're going to heal it. Okay? So the point is, you can command your brain, even if your conscious awareness doesn't grip it all together, it doesn't matter. But you're telling yourself, this is my expectation, and I'm ordering my brain to memorize this because you want to make it as easy for yourself in the now. Okay? And you can say it out loud, or you could just think it in your mind, but you're just taking authority over yourself and saying, okay, mind, brain, do as I say, memorize this information. And then you start with your study. So when you can concentrate on what you're doing without letting your thoughts wander to any extraneous stimuli, you will come to a point when your body actually aligns with your mind. Now your new skill will become easier and easier to do. So thanks to Hebb's law of firing and wiring, the ingredients of learning, attention, instruction, and practice will develop an associated neural network to reflect your intentions. Preparation, preparing your tools, the right stuff. Separately from your meditation sessions, you will read some descriptive text about each step, often accompanied by questions and prompts under the heading Opportunity to Write. I recommend that you keep a notebook handy to write down your answers, then review your responses before you go into each day's meditation. That way, your written thoughts can serve as a roadmap to prepare you to navigate through the meditative procedures in which you will access the operating system of your subconscious. So listen up. When you are first learning the meditation steps, you may want to listen to pre-recorded guided sessions. So for example, you will learn an induction technique that you will use in every one of your daily sessions to help you reach the highly coherent alpha brainwave state in preparation for the approach that is the focus of chapter 11 to 13. Now, in addition, the steps you are to learn each week are available for you to follow in a series of guided meditations. 2 approaches to the meditation. Meditation option 1. So wherever you see this headphone icon, so refer to your books, it shows the little icon of the headset, a guided induction or meditation is available. By now, you should know what it means to be in an induced or in an induction state and how induction benefits you. To listen to these guided sessions, you can download them from www.drjoedispenza.com and either play them in MP3 format or burn them onto a CD. I'm just going to encourage you, what I've done after purchasing my guided meditations from Dr. Joe, he gives you up to three downloads when you purchase them. So I always download it immediately to my computer. I download it to my cell phone, and then my third download is to a backup drive, so that if anything happens, I have it in at least 3 places. If my computer goes down, if my cell phone goes down for whatever reason, I still have it backed up to another portable hard drive, because that is a valuable asset to me, and I don't want to have to rebuy it. And I do want to have it handy for me to use every day. So I have a nice little collection of, I don't know, I have never counted how many meditations of his I have, but maybe a dozen or so. And I'll continue to buy his meditations, because as you move forward in your meditative practice, you are going to become aware of, for example, maybe the Tuning New Potentials meditation, or the Project Coherence meditation, or maybe the box meditation. There's different things that will prompt you where it's like, I need that meditation. And so, yeah, you should go ahead and buy it, because part of your library, it's almost like when you have a tool set, you can't just have a screwdriver and think that you can do anything and everything that you have to do for a home just with one screwdriver. No, you sometimes need a screwdriver, sometimes you need a Phillips head, sometimes you need a different size one, sometimes you need a wrench, sometimes you need a hammer, sometimes you need a nail. And so these are tools that you're going to use for this body, which is your house for you while you're on planet Earth. After you read each chapter, then journal your responses in a notebook. You can download the corresponding meditation. Each week, as you add the next step or steps to those you practiced the previous week, you can find the next related meditation available on download. They will be listed as week 1 meditation, week 2 meditation, week 3 meditation, and week 4 meditation. Week 4 will include the entire meditation. So for example, when you hear the week 2 meditation, it will lead you through the week 1 step, which is an induction technique. Then we'll add the 3 steps you will practice for week 2. When you do the week 3 meditation, you will repeat the steps you learned in weeks 1 and 2, then add the steps for week 3. So he's layering it little by little. Week 1, week 2, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 1, week 2, week 3. So it's building one on the other. Week 4, it'll be week 1, week 2, week 3, and ultimately week 4, so that you have the entire process in queue. Meditation option 2. Alternatively, scripts for these guided sessions are included in the appendices so that you can read them until you memorize the sequence or dictate them into a recording device. Appendices A and B provide 2 techniques for the induction. Appendix C is the script for the entire meditation, encompassing all of the steps you will learn in part 3. If you decide to use Appendix C script to guide your meditation, then each week, please start with the steps you learned in previous weeks, then build on them by doing that week's meditation. Don't you love it? He even gives you instruction on how to use all of the information. I love that about Dr. Joe. He's so thorough, he leaves nothing left for question. So preparing your environment, just as in real estate, where the most important thing is location, location, location. The real estate for this house, the most important asset is location, location, location. You have learned that overcoming your environment is a critical step in breaking the habit of being yourself. So finding the right environment in which to meditate, one with a minimum of distractions, will really give you a leg up on defeating the first of the big 3. We'll cover the other 2 and the body and time in a moment. So I'm going to repeat that again because I think this is so important. Remember what we talked about earlier in the chapters of this book, how he talked about in epigenetics and how what changes the cells and the molecules of the body is not the nucleus, it's not the genetics, it's the environment in which that cell is in that changes the expression of that cell. You are doing the same thing that you're doing at a small, infinitesimally small quantum level, at a cellular level. You are doing it on a macrospective level. Macrospective, I've never used that word before. I think I just made up a word. Macrospective. In other words, from a perspective that is more global. Your environment, the space in which you are watching this video right now, he's saying that you want to be finding the right environment in which to meditate, one with a minimum amount of distractions that will really give you a leg up on defeating the first of the big 3. In parentheses, he put here, will cover the other 2, the body and time. So environment, body, and time are the big 3. So you're going to want to pick a place that's comfortable. When he says a place that's comfortable, I'm going to mom you here. When he says a place that's comfortable, he doesn't mean a lazy boy lean back lounge chair. No, he doesn't mean laying down in your bed. Although, again, Dr. Joe has laying down meditations, sitting up meditations, standing meditations, walking meditations, etc. You're going to want to start this sitting down with a chair that is upright, like the chair that I'm sitting in right now. You could also be sitting at the edge of your bed, and wherever your bed is, you want to sit so that your knees are just as if you were sitting in a chair without a back, which is going to cause you to, be a little bit more alert because you don't have the support. You don't want to be leaning back. There are times that the meditation perhaps may call for you to lean back, but you want to sit, you've all seen pictures of yogis and you've seen pictures of monks. They're not slouched. First of all, you can't breathe when you're slouched. It's impossible to breathe. In fact, you're shallow breathing. That's really bad for you. You have to have, your spine needs to be straight so that you can take a deep inhale and exhale. Okay, so sit down in a comfortable, quiet area. For years, I meditated in the closet. I had a walk-in closet. I would close the door to my walk-in closet. I would walk in there. I was in a quiet place where I was not distracted by anything. I just had clothes all the way around me. I would sit on the carpet, in the lotus position, and I would, start meditating. Whether I had a book that I was meditating with, or if I had something that I was listening to do. I didn't do a lot of guided meditations for years and years. It wasn't really until I met the actual guided meditation work that Dr. Joe had that it was the first time really that I did a guided meditation. I would do it in complete silence or with my own music that I would have playing in the background. So moving on. So you want a comfortable place where you can be alone and not be seduced by the addiction of the external world. Make it secluded, private, and easily accessible. Go to this place every day and make it your special location. You will form a strong connection with this setting. It will represent where you frequent to tame the distracted ego, overcome the old self, create a new self, and forge a new destiny. In time, you will truly look forward to being there. A participant in one event I led told me that she always fell asleep when she meditated. Our conversation went like this. I get this a lot too. Where do you practice your mindfulness training? Answered, in bed. What does the law of association say about your bed and sleep? I associate my bed with sleep. What does the law of repetition demonstrate about sleeping in your bed every night? Answer, if I sleep in the same place nightly, I am hardwiring an association of bed with sleep. Given the fact that neural networks are formed by combining the law of association with the law of repetition, might you have formed a neural network to the effect that bed means sleep? The answer would be yes. And since neural networks are automatic programs that we unconsciously use every day, does it stand to reason that when you are on your bed, your body, as the mind, will tell you to automatically and unconsciously fall into oblivion? Yep, I guess I needed a better place to meditate. He finishes this with an exclamation mark, but I'm going to hit the pause button here. And I think perhaps I didn't really think of that aspect when I first started meditating. I think the reason why I was able to successfully get off the ground in terms of starting to meditate when I did was because I was secluded in a quiet place at night. When I started, I only meditated at night. So I would lock myself, I would close the door in my closet, sit down on the floor facing the door, and I was in a secluded place. It was late at night. The whole household was asleep. My kids, my husband. So the whole house, the only one who wasn't asleep was me. And since I was sitting down, I wasn't about to fall asleep sitting down. So that increases the likelihood of success because you're not associating with sitting down in that lotus style, cross-legged, as going to sleep. Your body's cued to it. It's like, oh, she's meditating. So you're going to have more success that way. So not only did I suggest that she stay out of bed when she meditates, but that she find a different place separate from her bedroom. So next, what I said about sitting at the edge of your bed, I don't think I've actually ever done that myself. That was just an image that came to mind, and that's why I shared that. But like he says, disassociate yourself from your bed, because your bed, your mind and your body's already conditioned to associate your bed for you going to sleep. You don't want to go to sleep. You want to go into a meditation. So when you want to build a new neural network, it makes good sense to do your mindfulness practice in a setting that represents growth, generation, and a new future. Another pause button. Another place that for years I've meditated at, a place that brings me a tremendous amount of peace and oneness And there's a certain regalia and reverence and awe that comes over me is at the beach. Because I've always lived just a few minutes from the beach. After I drop off my kids to school, I would drive for 4 minutes, get to the beach, and I would meditate at the beach. And just sometimes I would, walk my meditations, even though I didn't think of them as walking meditations, that's what I was doing. And other times I would just literally sit my hiney on the sand, facing the water, taking in the blue skies, the sound of the wave, the spray of the ocean on my face, and just sitting there noticing. Before I went into meditation, I was noticing all the different senses, what I saw, what I heard, what I smelled, even what I tasted. You could taste the salt air, the wind that was blowing not only through my hair, but also touching my face and different parts of my skin, whatever was exposed, or even the flapping of sometimes I was wearing a t-shirt or a hoodie, and the wind is it's not always, but sometimes the wind is picking up so much that, it flaps against your skin. Just all those sensations before I would actually go into a meditation. And so I'm going to encourage you guys to do the same. Maybe you don't have a beach close to you. Maybe you have a lake. Maybe you have a river. Maybe you have a forest. Maybe you have a stream or several streams close to you. Maybe you have a beautiful park that you might want to get away to, and maybe not every day, but maybe on occasion you go to that park to do your meditations. Separate from that place outside of your home, I would say find some place in your home that you can associate with meditation. It can be in your bedroom, although Dr. Joe says take a place outside of your bedroom. It could be a corner in your living room, maybe on the right side of your sofa. You always sit on the right side of your sofa, or whatever sofas you have in your living room. So it's important to establish that routine so that your brain knows, oh, this is what we're going to do, okay? And please do not see this location as a torture chamber in which you have to meditate. This type of attitude will undermine your efforts, preventing distractions from your environment. So make sure you won't be interrupted or distracted by people. A do not disturb sign can help. Or pets. As much as possible, eliminate sensory stimuli that could force your mind back to your old personality or to awareness of the external world, especially to elements of your familiar environment. Turn off your phone and computer. I know it's hard. Those calls, texts, tweets, instant messages, and emails, they can all wait. You also don't want the aroma of coffee brewing or food cooking to waft into your meditation setting. Ensure that the room is a comfortable temperature with no drafts. I usually use a blindfold. He usually uses a blindfold. I never use a blindfold. So some people always need to have a blindfold on. I, per se, do not need to use a blindfold. I see in the blackness every time I meditate, and it's not an issue. But everybody's senses are different. So if you feel that you need a blindfold, use one. Have one handy. If you don't feel that you need it, then moving on. Don't worry about it. Music. Music can be useful as long as you don't play selections that will bring to mind distracting associations. So if I play music, I typically use soft, relaxing, trance-inducing instrumentals or chants without lyrics. When not listening to music, I often put in earplugs. So preparing your body. Position, position, position. I sit up very straight. I'm going to hit the pause button here. I can't emphasize how important it is to sit up straight, not to be slouched. You have to sit up straight because remember, when you're doing this breath work, you have your cerebral spinal fluid that is traveling up and down your spine. As you do the breath, as you take your focus awareness and bring it up and then release it, your cerebral spinal fluid has to be able to go from the base of your spine, bathe your brain, and then release and come down. Part of that is the alkalizing of your body, getting rid of the acidity and the inflammation that you have inherently in your body as a result of whatever condition you might have. It could be diet, it could be some sort of infirmity, doesn't matter. We all have a certain amount of acidity, and we're getting rid of it automatically just by doing the breath. The second thing is the movement and the speed with which your cerebral spinal fluid goes up and comes back down repeatedly is starting to get the electrons to move from each one of the cells, and you're starting to get electrical charge inside your cerebral spinal fluid as it's going up. And ultimately, as you do that mechanistic breathing, it's going to set off the piezoelectric effect inside your pineal gland, so that now the little rhombohedrons, the 5 that are on top of your pineal gland, instead of them just sitting there, all 5 of them, the calcium carbonate crystals that we talked about before, they're going to start to shimmer. And as they shimmer, the cerebral spinal fluid keeps on hitting it, they start to shimmer, and then they expand out, they go in, they expand out, they go in, expand out, and they boomerang. It's almost like a rubber band until there's so much electrical charge that, bam, you have the electric effect, which is now going to make your transducer from the top of your pineal gland. As we mentioned before, the pineal gland kind of looks like this, which is a little pine cone. And it's the size of a little rice grain. And on top of that little rice grain, you have a tiny little antennae called a transducer that starts to grow. It's just a few microns. And as it continues to grow to its maximum, it's what allows you to not only pick up different frequencies, but it's what allows you to be in 5 quantum, to be molding the clay and taking the potential waveforms of energy, and you're turning them into particles, into the particles that you want, not the particles that are coming together by default programming, okay? So that's why position is an imposition on you, but you are the master of this. So this position is for your optimization of the being that you are. So I sit up very straight. My back is totally vertical. My neck is erect. My arms and legs are resting, poised, and still. And my body is relaxed. What about using a recliner? I forgot that he mentioned that in this book. So just as with sitting in bed, many people fall asleep in recliners. Sitting upright in a regular chair, limbs uncrossed is best. Okay, so he says limbs. Limbs aren't just your arms. That means your legs. So ladies and gentlemen, friends and gems, do not cross over your legs. Don't even cross them over at the ankles. Everything should be straight up and down. Yes, you can hold, like they call these mudras, if you do this, any one of these positions, which are associated with different organ parts. Pick whichever one you want. He doesn't care, doesn't really talk about that. Or you could just have your hands like this over your knees. That's perfectly fine too. Just be in a relaxed state. Just as with sitting in bed. Many people fall asleep in recliners. Sitting upright in a regular chair, limbs uncrossed is best. If you prefer to sit on the ground and cross your legs Indian style, that's fine too. Preventing bodily distractions. In effect, you want to put the body to sleep. You're going to put your body away so that you can focus without needing to pay it any attention. So for example, use the restroom before you meditate. Dress in loose clothing. Remove your watch. Drink a little water and have more within reach. Take care of any hunger pangs before you begin. Okay, so I'm going to address a few things here because I think it's important for you guys to be aware of this. So yes, do go to the bathroom before. Drink water before your meditation, because the conductivity of the energy in your body will flow much more easily if you're well hydrated. If you're dehydrated, you're denser. You want to make it easier for your body to relax and to go into that state, and for you to have an induction field where you can fan out your electromagnetic frequency so that you can optimize yourself. So you want to drink the water. Don't drink the water till you're stuffed. Drink enough water so that you're thoroughly hydrated. The other thing that it talks about here is you want loose clothes. You don't want to have something that's pressing on your waist where it's too tight. He talks about, take care of any hunger pangs before you begin. Do not eat a big meal before you meditate. If you have to have some sort of nutritional bar, something that will maybe curb your hunger, but not so that you don't feel any hunger pangs, so that you are satiated, but you don't want to have a big meal and then go do a meditation. It's better actually to do it on an empty stomach. But if you can't do an empty stomach for whatever reason, then have some sort of protein bar, maybe have a little bit of, some sort of juice with whatever nutrients in there, maybe added protein and so forth, just enough so that you don't get hungry during the meditation. And at some point, you're going to learn to, even in the face of feeling hunger, or in the face of having to go to the bathroom, or in the face of feeling an itch, or in the face of feeling a tickling sensation. These things do happen in meditation. What I have learned is if I could master ignoring that itch and allow that feeling of itchiness to just dissipate on its own without my scratching it, it would keep the flow of my meditation better. And then that feeling would actually go away. And the same thing is with the feeling of hunger or what have you. It could be argued that that's maybe a little bit more advanced technique, but if you just go into it with that frame of mind that no matter what else, whatever it is, I am the master of my body, and I'm going to say, yeah, we're going to feed you later, I'm going to take you to the bathroom later, we're going to do this later, but for now, you do as I say, and we'll take good care of you. And so, like I said, that included, if I had an itch, inevitably, like, when you first start, even in the monastery with Dr. Joe, sometimes it's like, okay, somehow an air conditioning vent, blowed a little hair on my face. Normally I would either move it out of the way, or, I would scratch the little itch. No, I don't want to break the state in which I'm in, so I'm just going to ignore it. And then I'm taking my attention back to my meditation, because for a moment I was focusing on something else instead of the meditation. Otherwise, I would have not recognized that itch. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay. Whatever you do, be loving to yourself. Don't beat yourself up if you involuntarily still scratched yourself. Next time, you just make note of it. It's like, oh, next time I won't do that. Next time I'm going to master myself. Head nodding versus nodding off. So we're talking about the body. So let me address an issue that may come up in your own meditation practice. Although you're sitting upright, you may find your head nodding as though you are about to fall asleep. This is a good sign. You are moving into an alpha and theta brainwave state. Your body is used to lying down when your brainwaves slow down. When you suddenly nod like this, your body wants to doze off. With continued practice, you'll become accustomed to your brain slowing down. While you sit upright, the head nodding will eventually stop, and your body won't tend to fall asleep. When you're at that, so that's the pause button here. When you're at that spot and you recognize that you're kind of like nodding off, that, I wish somebody would have told me this before, because it took me a long time to figure this out. And it wasn't until I was in the monastery with Dr. Joe. He talks about the door. You're knocking on that door. That's that point where your body is falling asleep, but your brain is still aware. And now you're entering into that 5D quantum. Sometimes it would help me to put my head back instead of allowing it to nod, because I was trying to heal from, a neck injury. It hurts to nod. And so putting my neck back a little bit, that would oftentimes help from nodding. But nodding was an indicator, and it was a flag to me. It's like, oh, you're right at the door, keep it up. So it's like, okay, my brain is awake and alert, and I just have to keep my body still in that relaxed state. Okay, next section, making time to meditate. When to meditate. As you know, daily changes in brain chemistry result easier access So as you know, daily changes in brain chemistry result in easier access to your subconscious mind, just after you wake up in the morning and before you go to bed at night. So these are the best times you can meditate because you can more readily slip into the alpha or theta states. So I prefer to meditate around the same time every morning. If you are really enthusiastic and would like to meditate at both these times a day, go for it. However, I just suggest that folks just start out to do so once daily. How long to meditate? Take a few minutes before each day's meditation session to review any writing you have done in connection with the steps you're about to practice. As I said, think of these notes as your roadmap to the journey you're about to take. You may also find it helpful to reread portions of the text to remind you of what you're about to do before you go into the meditation. While you're learning the process, every session will start with 10 to 20 minutes for induction. As you add steps, your time frame should lengthen by about 10 to 15 minutes per step. Over time, you will move more rapidly through the steps with which you are already familiar. Now, by the time you learn to do all those in this process, your daily meditation, including induction, will generally take 40 to 50 minutes. So if you need to finish by a certain time, set a timer. To go off 10 minutes before, you must end your session. That will give you a heads up to complete the session, rather than having to stop abruptly without bringing what you were doing to a close. And so now the next thing is you need to set aside enough time to meditate so that the clock doesn't become a concern. After all, if you're meditating and find yourself thinking about your watch, you haven't overcome time. So I think this is so important. And this is a skill of not thinking about time. When you sit down to meditate, you just can it. And as someone who is always led by the clock and always having to hurry and get so much done and pack so much in a day, I've gone full swing to the other day where oftentimes I really don't know what time of the day it is, because this part of this practice has really made me be very mindful and very present. Something that I conditioned myself to do in meditation is not worry about time, not wonder, oh, I wonder how long it's been. No, the truth is I can't feel the time during the meditation. And chances are you can't either. So if you can just tell your analytical thinking brain right now, it doesn't matter what time it is, and it doesn't matter how long this takes. This is a 40 or a 50 or however long the meditation is. When it's done, it's done. And get excited about the fact that you are learning how to mold your potential waveforms of energy for your benefit, that you are on the path to have not only a healing experience in whatever way, shape, or form, in whatever area or all areas of your life, but you are also in this journey where you will have some sort of extraordinary mystical experience. You're on the path. So this is an adventure at a proportion and at a dimension that you could never imagine. But you just have to get started now. And you're already on the path because you're reading this book, you're studying it. You're not just satisfied with just reading the book on your own. You're wanting to dive in deep, learn the principles, get familiar with it, and then implement it and really get deep down and engaged in it. And that commitment to yourself, you're not committing to me, you're not committing to anybody else. You are committing to the infinite well that you are and the untapped potential. You have this crazy potential that's inside of you. We all do. It's an infinite potential. And we are, instead of just operating at 10 to 25%, which the majority of the population never goes over, they say it's 25%. And I say it's BS because it's impossible to measure infinity. So how can they say it's 20, 25%? So I say, you know what, all the people who say, the experts that say it's 20, 25%, and even the most brilliant geniuses never get to 35%, and it's only the, beings in 5 or 6D that can reach 50 or 60%. No, I don't believe. My inner knowingness says, and this is just, I'm just sharing my insights, my knowingness is that we can't measure infinity because it's infinite. So if there is no top, you have to have a beginning and an end, a top and a bottom, in order for you to measure something precisely. If the realm is infinite, then by definition, how could you assign a percentage to it? Impossible. So the bottom line is that you are in the journey, in the process now, through this study and application of this knowledge of starting to dive in deeper into knowing who you truly are and starting to unleash, because that's what you're doing with every meditation, with every reading, with every application, with every commitment to do this work. You're unleashing packets of not only light, but quantum potential that are there to serve you for your benefit and for the greater good of all. So master overcoming time. Forget about the time. Just be and pay attention to that sense of consciousness, being in that void, in that space. Essentially, going back to the book, essentially you may have to wake up earlier or go to bed later in order to carve out a slot in your day. I already addressed that earlier, so we're not going to beat a dead horse. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, write down below in the comments here. This is an open worldwide classroom. I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as possible. So preparing your state of mind, mastering the ego. So to be honest, I do have those days where I battle my ego tooth and nail, since it wants to be in control. Some mornings, as I begin the process, my analytical mind starts thinking about flights to catch, meetings with staff, injured patients, reports and articles I need to write, my kids and their complexities, phone calls I have to make, and random thoughts from nowhere that pop into my head. I'm obsessing about everything predictable in my external life. Typically, my mind, like most people's, is either anticipating the future or remembering the past. When that occurs, I have to settle down and realize that those are all known associations that have nothing to do with creating something new in the present moment. If this happens to you, it is your job to go beyond the tedium of normal thinking and enter into the creative moment. So mastering the body. If your body bucks like an unbridled stallion because it wants to be the mind, to get up and do something, think about someplace it has to go in the future or remember a past emotional experience with some person in your life. You must settle it down into the present moment and relax it. Every time you do, you're reconditioning your body to a new mind. And in time, it will acquiesce. Pause button here. It's a matter of practice, practice, practice. Before you know it, your body will just acquiesce. It'll give in, it'll surrender, because it'll recognize that it's futile. You're going to do this no matter what, over and over again until you master it. And so it finally just stops because it knows that it's a losing battle for it. So you have already won your first battle. It was conditioned by an unconscious mind, and it has to be retrained by you. So love it, work with it, and be kind to it. It will ultimately surrender to you as its master. Remember to be determined, present, excited, joyful, flexible, and inspired. When you do so, you are reaching for the hand of the divine. So now let's begin. So I want to add to this. Be resilient, be dogmatic, you have decided to put your eye on a target. You have the bullseye, which is your life, and you have decided, I'm going to hit that target. I don't know how long it's going to take for me to not only master the processes, these steps that Dr. Joe is talking about. I don't know how long it'll take for me to recondition the body to a new mind. I don't know how long it's going to take for me to break the habit of being myself. I don't know how long it's going to take for me to master those aberrant negative thoughts that take away energy from me. I don't know how long it's going to take for me to recognize even that those thoughts that don't serve me are separate from my conscious awareness, whatever it might be, but it doesn't matter. Your resolve, your mindset, your determination, your free will, you're choosing with your free will. Guess what? I have the rest of my life to master this. This is something I'm choosing to do. Just like I chose at a certain point in time in history, albeit because your mother probably put pressure on you too, you learned to brush your teeth every day because your mother said you had to do this in order for you to have good oral hygiene and to maintain health. And so you don't even think about it now. You automatically get up like a robot and you brush your teeth every morning, you brush your teeth every night, end of story. It's a non-issue. You even think about a gazillion other things as you brush your teeth. The same thing is going to be here. You're deciding, I am just going to do this practice. This is the largest investment in energy that I could ever create for myself. And one, not only are you going to garner all sorts of benefits, which some of them are pretty obvious, but as you move forward in your meditative practice, you're going to learn meditation at deeper and deeper levels. You will also start to recognize how sly our ego is. Because one thing is to have unwanted situations that are outside of you that are very obvious, but it seems like the ego is very sly, very stealthy, very sneaky. And you're going to notice, oh, it's introducing these thoughts that are not such obvious manifestations of fear, that are not such obvious manifestations of doubt, of worry and hurry. And so you'll start to catch that. And you're like, oh, you little sneaky booger, I'm onto you. I see what's going on here. Nope. Grab that thought, brain, do as I say. I got this. No. Ego, you're not my amigo. Putting the pause button on you. Thank you for letting me see that that's a little stealthy action. You're trying to weasel your way back in here. Nope. I'm holding that thought captive. I'm throwing it over here in my little trash bin of my world. I'm going to throw it away. I recognize it for what it is. Thank you, ego, for letting me recognize your underhanded way of working. Pretty clever, but I'm onto you. Brain, do as I say. And then you move forward in your meditative practice. That concludes our chapter 9. We've already read 9 chapters in this book. We're more than halfway done with this book. We have 14 chapters plus the meditations at the end of this book. So I want to thank you for tuning in, tapping in, and turning on today to Love and Money Secrets TV, to joining our study, our review, our application of breaking the habit of being yourself. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, if you are starting to see results in your meditative practices, please share with me some of your experiences. I would love to hear about your experiences. If you are a previous meditator and now you are adding this form of meditation and you've noticed certain changes, I would love for you to share with me what those experiences are. And again, this is an open forum. This is for us. And it's an hour and 14. I shall let you go. Thank you, my friends and gems. Be sure to when you hit that like button, that's like a heart button. You're saying that you love this. So please hit that like button. It makes it possible for people like you with family like yours all over the world, that the chances are greater that they'll find this content too. So please hit that like button because it warms my heart. Please share this video with someone that you love or someone that you think that might benefit from it. And hit that notification bell because it brings me joy, because you'll be notified every time we upload new videos, whether we do a live broadcast or whether we are actually just uploading a new video, new content, and so forth. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you and ciao for now.